we are in Dana Point, California for the 27th annual 356 meet. They have over 300 cars here. This is just turning out to be one of the most spectacular events in Southern California. They bring their cars, and that's the way to really fully enjoy coming to these shows. Okay, we're here today with Don Rutherford, and what exactly do you have to do to bring all these cars here?
Well, the interesting thing is we don't do very much.
Even better.
It is. You know, we have what is undoubtedly the largest recurring 356 show in the world. And over the years, we've had more and more of the 911 guys coming in 912s, which are the four-cylinder 911 cars, and the early 911, what they call the S registry, the early 911 cars that are becoming very, very popular now. So between the two, we got over 300 cars here today.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
And some of them are very, very original. And we have, we've got a front row of cars here that is probably unparalleled at any show in the world. It's got a large number of 4-cam cars, which attract outrageous prices. And we have what I consider the star of the show right here, which is the 1952 America Roadster. I mean, this thing is made, it's an aluminum-bodied car, and they brought a bunch of these cars all from the East Coast. They're going to go from here on up to Monterey, so they are world-class cars. This show has almost got to the point where it can't get any bigger.
But my gosh, what a stunningly beautiful spot to display these cars. I can see why it is getting bigger and bigger, and certainly a lot of people here from around the world just to view.
Oh yeah.
And the way it's set up, not all these cars are for judging, are they?
No, not at all. I think the number was 57 of this, roughly 175 here, were actually being judged in a number of classes. The Wash and Shine, which is basically a beauty contest, and the Street Concours, where people do you the favor of not looking in your engine compartment or under the car. And right up to full concours, where every nut and bolt is judged on the car. So we've got the full gamut here.
And everyone is certainly enjoying this today.
Oh yeah, and the vast majority of the people here are people that are interested in the cars, probably belong to one of the clubs, and they know exactly what this is. Dana Point is an annual event for them all. And, the hotel's been good to us, the city's been good to us, so we really love doing it here.
Fantastic. Thanks.
Thank you, Barnaby. It's a pleasure.
It is. We're here today with Bob and Jeannie Ingram, and you're from Road Scholars. You've come a long way here, haven't you?
Barnaby, we have. Jeannie and I and our sons Cam and Rory and our grandchildren came all the way from Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. It's a great show. We enjoy coming here every year, and we're privileged today to share some of our cars with what is a great turnout.
Now, are you a willing participant or?
Very willing.
Oh, that makes it all the more fun, doesn't it?
You must visit our garage.
Yeah. Jeannie's inviting people as they watch this. We live in Durham, North Carolina, and Jeannie has taken what was an old Studebaker dealership and turned it into a museum for our car collection. It's a way for us to share our passion for these German rear-engine cars with people who otherwise might not ever see these old cars.
What cars have you brought here today?
Well, Barnaby, Cam has just finished showing our 1955 Continental. As you may know, 1955 was the only year Porsche built the 356 Continental, in that Max Hoffman, the primary importer at that point, told Dr. Porsche that Americans liked cars with names, not numbers. And so they built the Continental in 55, but after starting production, they were notified by Ford that Ford owned the rights to that name. So they only made that 1 year. So he's displaying that, and we're displaying our 1967R, one of 20, our 1964 904 GTS, and behind us is one of our most unique cars, a 1952 America Roadster. Porsche built 16 America Roadsters in 1952. They're all aluminum. This is car number 7 of the 16, the only one they did in red. And I'd like to say, and I know Jeannie would join me, that this car is really a tribute to our dear friend, Dr. Bill Jackson, who pioneered the art of collecting Porsches. He did, and we're now the proud caretakers of several of Bill's collection, this being one of the stars.
Well, it certainly is. It's probably the star here, and that's 300-some cars.
No, it's a great turnout today, Barnaby, and wonderful cars and a great crowd, and we've had a lot of compliments on this car, and the fact that it is one of 16, obviously you don't see these very often.
No, you don't, and I'm sure there's a fascinating story how this car even got to be here on the lawn.
Well, it is. Bill and I first met through these cars. We've become very dear friends. And Bill, as you know, did really at one point maybe was the premier collector of Porsches in the world. And this was one of his most favorite cars, and he knew, as all of us do eventually, that it's time to pass it on to another owner. And Bill taught us many lessons, one of which is if you care about the cars as he does and we do, you want them to go to someone who's going to take as good, if not better care of them than you yourself. And we were honored to have that privilege, to be the next caretakers. And we don't ever plan to sell the car. We'll, at some point, pass it on to someone else who will continue to preserve this part of history.
My understanding is this is really a road show, and it goes from here up to Monterey?
It does. We're sending these cars along with several others from our collection up to Monterey, and they will be, some of them will be in the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, some will be at the Quail, some will be at the Streets of Carmel. So we'll have a busy week, but it'll be a fun week.
It will indeed. Well, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Barnaby. It's always a privilege. Jeannie's reminding me, my wife is one of the longest-serving directors of the North Carolina Museum of Art, and beginning in October, running through February, October 12th through February 20th, the North Carolina Museum of Art, which is a magnificent new museum, Barnaby, is hosting a Porsche exhibit called Speed, Style, and Design. Seducing Speed, Porsche by Design. And Zuffenhausen is sending over 10 of the cars from the Porsche Museum. We're providing some cars. Ralph Lauren's providing some cars. It'll be a wonderful exhibit that people from all over the world hopefully will come and see.
Well, I can tell if you like Porsche.
And you can see our collection while you're there.
There you go. I think we'll be there.
We hope you will.
And you must have something to do with this happening, do you not?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we got them confirmed that cars are beautiful art, we've got it made now.
I'm sure you get lots of people there, but you know, if we can encourage people to come and see you.
Oh, we'd be delighted.
Well, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Barnaby. It's always a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. We're here today with Skip Shirley, and Skip, this is a little different for the fair here. What exactly is this?
It's a 58 Porsche Devon.
Wow, this is a stunning looking car. Now, was this a Porsche they put a Devon body on, or how did this come about?
Bill Devon, who owned Devon Cars, bought 6 engines from Porsche AG and put one of the motors in here. This is car number 6. And it actually came with a Porsche motor, push rod.
And did this car race in anger anywhere?
It's raced at Watkins Glen, Road America, Lime Rock. I mean, a lot of tracks back in the Northeast. Wow. It has a big history.
It's a great design. This is how it came out. Wow.
He was way ahead of his time, of course. And this car is very, very fast. I got 131 horsepower to the rear wheels. Car weighs 1,200 pounds, believe it or not. We corner balanced it, 1,204 pounds what this car actually weighs. It's fast, very fast.
Now, are you vintage racing this or just concoursing at the moment?
Well, the previous owner is named Tommy Tribune out of Nashville, Tennessee, and he wants to drive this car at the vintage races in Monterey.
There were how many of these did he build?
6.
That was it.
That's it.
What are some of the other features on this car?
It's got B drum brakes all the way around. It's got a Rhino transaxle with a Porsche suspension all the way around. And as you can see, it's got the Porsche badges and the gauges and steering horn button and stuff like that. It's got all that stuff.
Wow. Now, these were fiberglass bodies, were they not?
Correct. They are fiberglass. And they have a wonderful frame.
I'm sure this is one of the more appreciative crowds here to appreciate this.
Appreciate that very much, and I hope this car does well.
You appreciate it. Oh, beautiful job. Just a beautiful job. One of the more unusual 356s here today, and here's the owner, Henry Walker, and Henry Sr., and I guess you've got your son involved in this too.
We do. We try to keep it a family affair. Quite a fun hobby. So.
It is indeed, and I mean, what better spot to be able to show and tell stories about your cars,
It's
right?
a great venue here at Dana Point. We've discovered this car in 1992. We've been in Porsches since I was a little boy.
Oh, 60s, yeah, 64, 65.
Yeah,
Wow.
long time. But we were down in San Diego. The Porsche parade was down there, and this came rolling in on a back of a flatbed truck. And I kind of elbowed my dad and said, I've read about those, and I know they're really rare. And that's about all I knew. And so we eventually negotiated for the car and then sat on it for 2 years because we didn't know what we really had. But since I've contacted the original owner, a couple other owners in Tennessee, because see, there's only 5 of these made.
Well, why were they even made? How did it come about?
Well, that's a good question. Even as early as 1952, the marketing at Porsche realized that the cars are too small. So a young man owns a sports car, he gets married, he has kids, and they've outgrown the 356. So marketing thought there was a market for a 4-seater car. So the chassis is Porsche. It was sent down to Switzerland. There's 2 brothers, Beutler brothers, Ernst and Fritz. Ernst was the designer. His brother was the metal man. And the chassis was stretched 10 inches behind the rear seat, and then a handmade aluminum body put on it.
This is aluminum.
It's aluminum.
Wow.
The cars were way too expensive. They're over $6,000 in 1960, almost twice of a 356, which was not a cheap car in itself. So they only ended up making 5 of these.
Wow. So how, you told me it showed up at the show. You've talked to the original owner. How did that happen? What possessed him to buy it in the first place?
He was a distributor in Texas, in San Antonio.
It's Houston, wasn't it?
San Antonio.
San Antonio, okay.
And he was at Stuttgart in late '59 for the all the talk about the 356B. So there's a lot of model changes, and so they went there. And then a bunch of guys went down to Geneva Auto Show to see the auto show. Beutler had a display. So that's where he saw the cars. He grabbed a sales brochure, and he ordered one. And I have all the letters about the correspondence between Beutler and him in ordering this car. And so he only owned it a couple years, but it came delivered with the 1600 Super. He told me as soon as he could get a Super 90 replacement engine, he put it in this car. He put the badge on the back. So not having an engine when we bought it, we decided let's go with the Super 90 to follow this story.
That's what's in there today.
Wow. Clearly the family is into this, but it's so much fun to do the research and actually find just what you found.
Right.
And it's part CSI. You discover it.
It
and
is.
Treasure hunt, and then it's
The treasure hunt has been a blast. Finding a lot of parts, met a lot of friends. I have a very good German friend who has another Beutler, not this model, an earlier model. The cars in Tennessee, there's 2 of these models in Tennessee owned by 3 gentlemen, good old boys from Tennessee, and that's an interesting situation itself. And then the last car made is in Europe. The 4th one made was destroyed in an accident.
Oh, well, it's good to see that you have certainly preserved this well, and amongst 300 cars, it certainly stands out.
Thank you, and that's what's so much fun about it. I love this part of the car. 'Cause
Right there, exactly.
so compact.
Exactly.
Good morning, I'm Don Rutherford, the president of the 356 Club of Southern California. This 356 Club is actually the biggest regional club in the world with about 1,000 members. And this is our 28th annual car show. Well over half of them have been held right here on this beautiful location overlooking the Pacific Ocean in Dana Point. So we've got about 160 or so 356s here today, and another more than 150 911 series cars, the R Group, the 912s, and the early 911s. So we've got well over 300 cars here, and frankly, the value of the front row up here is absolutely mind-boggling. We've got some utterly spectacular cars. So if you take a look up there, there is a what's known as an American Roadster. It's 1952. There were something like 16 of them built. And it's a very, very early Porsche car. Let's simply say that it would be highly sought after, and probably in the millions if it ever went on the auction block. So it's probably the most valuable car up here, and it's a real time machine. It's a beautiful car. We're very lucky, actually. This is undoubtedly one of the best, if not the best, show, certainly for 356s. Anywhere in the world, and the fact that this one is annual makes it definitely the premier 356 show anywhere.
We got it. Thank you. 6263. Right behind you. Right on Bill Clevenger. Pretty good. Austin-Healey. Focus second and wash and shine. Stop. Go right by the trophy guy. 59. Come on, Steve, bring that squeezer up here. Austin, winner of Street Concours Open Class. All the way down. First place, Street Concours 6061. Scott Henry. First, Street Concours 62. Oslo Blue, which I don't think was available this year. Right on, that is absolutely good. It's a 64 Carrera. There it is, the winner. That's the best of the best today. Thank you very much for participating. best of the best today. Thank you very much for participating.
We're here today with John Wilhoit, and John, you're standing in front of the best of show material here.
Yeah, well, this car belongs to a fellow named John Healy. He's from London, England. We restored the car for him. We actually finished it last year in August. And he asked us to bring it out here, so my shop manager, Chris Mayring, brought the car out here and showed it for him. And yeah, he did real well with it.
He really did. It's Carreras are getting really hard to come by anymore, but this seems to have all the little gingerbread on it, doesn't it?
Well, it was a fully equipped car as far as it has a sunroof. The Carrera 2s, they didn't make very many of them in '64. It's a C model, which Carrera 2s were divided into B model and C model cars. The C models are more desirable because they have the later disc brakes. This car, having a sunroof is nice. They also made a cabriolet version. But yeah, it's a nice car, but it's what makes it cool is just that you don't see them that often. People are intrigued by the engine. It's a four overhead camshafts driven by bevel gears. And that's sort of a mechanic's nightmare to adjust the cam timing. There's no simple way to adjust it. And yeah, it's complicated. The engine's complicated. By today's standards, it's not incredibly fast, but you know, I tell the guys, as long as you don't come up, you know, having to race a Toyota Corolla or something, you'll be fine.
And so you do full restorations on these?
Yeah, we do full restorations. I've been in business since '76 in the same location. So yeah, we're seven-man shop. We do full restorations, and this car was shipped to us by Mr. Healy, the owner, from England. The car had been stored there in damp storage for 40 years.
40 years?
40 years. The car actually has, which is unbelievable, it has only 7,500 kilometers total on the car, but it needed to be completely redone. I mean, the metal is new from just below the door panels down all over the car. Really? It was really, you know, in England it's pretty damp, and nobody was taking care of the car, so it had a lot of damage.
What you're saying you started with, that's quite an accomplishment to end up best of show with about 300 cars here.
Yeah, well, we're happy with the outcome.
It's been a great day here at Dana Point at the 356 show. You could see anything Porsche had to offer and then some. And everybody has just been so pleased. It's one of the better venues in the country. And this is probably now the premier Porsche 356 show in the world. We hope you had a great time. This is clearly the premier 356 show in the world. And check us out on themotorcarsociety.com.